the Senior Director of Government Affairs at the National Taxpayers Union, and Kent Strang is Managing Director of Americans for Prosperity. So Secretary Wright saying Americans can expect to see higher prices at the pump for a few more weeks, but then it'll all end and it'll be worth it. Do you agree?
I do agree. I think when you look at what Americans are facing right now, look, we just came off of record low gas prices, the 5-year low. That's a great thing. Obviously, gas prices are up pretty substantially since that point, and Americans are rightly frustrated. You know, once the Strait of Hormuz is reopened, that gas can flow, we'll see gas prices and oil prices decline just as quickly as they shot up. But of course, there's a lot of uncertainty in this conflict, as the secretary said yesterday. So the sooner that happens, the sooner the oil and gas can go through to gas stations across the country.
Yeah. I bet Trump doesn't mind seeing that, though. California gas prices.
California, it's unbelievable what they have to pay out there. But I will say this, the average gallon of gas right now, $3.72. It was $2.99 3 weeks ago. So just let that sink in. And it just depends on how long this conflict could go, what happens with the Strait of Hormuz. But it's not just obviously Americans that are impacted by this. This conflict involves the impact on China's energy supply. The energy secretary commented on that as well. Listen to this.
The United States is always in dialogue with the Chinese. They're the second largest economy in the world, and they're a very important nation in the world. Opening the Straits of Hormuz is even more important for China than it is for the United States. But we care about the global economy. We care first about Americans, but Americans live in a globalized world, so we care about all the nations. So, look, there, of course, are tensions with China as well, but we will continue a productive dialogue, and I do expect China will be a constructive partner in reopening the Straits of Hormuz.
We also heard, Kent, that the president may not visit China as planned. Overall thoughts there on how China's impacted by this, and really this play, if you will, this situation of the Strait of Hormuz, and just how bad this can get. How many countries are impacted by this?
Well, right. China is certainly impacted. China and Asia receive about 80% of their petroleum supply from the Strait of Hormuz. But I think it's a great reminder that national security, energy security is national security. And yes, it is a global market, but here in the United States, that's why it's so important for us to go away from the failures of the Biden administration, the Green New Energy scam that got us in those Bidenomics mess of high gas prices, move away from that, move to policies that allow us to get after our energy supply, cut red tape, make sure that we have a permitting reform that is streamlined so we can be able to deliver for American people at the gas pump and drive down those prices, and eliminate policies like the Jones Act that make it so Americans have more money in their pocket. So when this conflict is over, we get back to those sub $3 gas prices.
Yeah, Tommy, we heard that the president said that they were letting Iran ship its oil out so that they could have some kind of control over that. So China may not be impacted. Plus, they were defying our sanctions anyway. But Japan and South Korea get a huge amount of their oil from the Middle East. And so this should be directly impacting them. Yet they're two of the countries that are saying, no, we're not going to really help you out here. Surprising?
Yeah, I think this is a perfect demonstration of anytime there's a supply disruption anywhere, it impacts prices everywhere. And look, obviously we're paying more at the pump right now, but the good news is tax refunds, they're going out. That's more money in people's pockets right now. The latest IRS data shows that the average refund is $4,000 thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill and the working families tax cuts. That's more money in people's pockets to cover this short-term rise in oil prices that hopefully will go down as quickly, just as quickly as they shot up.
I'm sure, though, they want to spend their money on something other than gasoline. Right. But I do see your point of positivity there. Let me move on, if I can, to C-04 control. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt recently spoke to the press about Operation Epic Fury. Here's what she said about it.
Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation. And we will live in a world where Iran can no longer threaten the United States or our allies with a nuclear bomb.
Kent, just messaging alone, I mean, think about the everyday American that maybe does not consume news, maybe the way we all do here, right? One thing they're going to see every day is that price at the pump. One thing they're not going to look up is the history of Iran, right? The 1979, what happened then, what's happening right now. How important is it for this White House to stay on top of messaging? As we heard, the president has now scheduled a news conference for today.
Yeah, I think it's so important that President Trump leans into one of his superpowers, and that's talking directly to the American people. Look, the American people lived under the malaise of Bidenomics and felt those high gas prices and felt those high grocery prices. Republicans and President Trump were elected to address that. They need to do everything they can post-conflict with Iran to address affordability, lower costs, make it so Americans can feel the impact of the working families tax cut, feel the impact of those energy prices that he moved away from Bidenomics, do everything they can, work with Congress to lower costs to make American families feel relief.
Well, that sounds good to all of us. Let's hope that happens. Tommy Aiello, Kat Strang, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.